Hello, welcome back to Females Thriving Over 30. So, everyone talks about self love like it's bubble baths and affirmations, but what if real self love actually looks uncomfortable?
Mm.
Today, that is what we're going to be talking about with our special guest. But before we get into that, how has your week been?
It's pretty good. Like I'm just trying to think about what have I done this week, and it's been like honestly like pretty chill and relaxing. Still learning my chess on Duolingo.
Ah,
I'm starting
yes.
to see, like the don't forget, da, 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 and I'm like,
Oh,
leave me
yeah.
alone.
You started to get harassed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the harassment has started. And then on Saturday we went to there is like a new development of houses happening in the city next to us. So
Mhm.
we went to like kind of like, be nosy
Oh,
and
yeah.
see
Yeah,
what
yeah.
what's in there. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering like how can people afford houses nowadays?
Oh, I know.
Prices are crazy for like
Yeah.
two-bedroom house.
I know. That's what it was like when we were looking at houses as well, because I feel like there's a huge jump between there's like a s- for us from experience from looking, there's
Mhm.
like houses around the bracket that our house was that we're currently in.
Mhm.
And then because we wanted to kind of get a slightly nicer house because we're
Yeah.
buying another house, most things within, like, that whole kind of price range didn't differ that much. And then if you wanted anything more, it was, like, jumping to
Super jump.
huge
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. It's really hard to find a house and to find the things that you want in a house for
Yeah.
a reasonable price,
Yeah.
100%.
And
Yeah.
like can people get mortgages for that amount? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like
know. I always think people on their own as well, if you wanna buy a house by yourself, that must be so difficult because trying to do it all on one salary and get approved for a mortgage and stuff must be so hard.
yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
We just went there because,
yeah.
we had nothing better to do.
I was gonna say, like, "Are you buying a new house? Are you
No, we're
feeling
just like
inspired?"
the it's just one of these like what is around, you can just go to the farmers market and things like that. It's like, okay, this is free. You can just go there. There was food and stuff. So it's like great, like our morning is sorted. And we were like, oh my goodness, man,
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
What about
Mhm.
you?
I always forget what I've been doing as well, because it's just, like, so day to day and there's so much stuff going on all the time. Um What did we do this weekend? Oh, we went to see, The Faraway Tree.
What's that?
Have you ever heard of that book? So it's by Enid Blyton. It's like a classic
Okay.
children's story. And Mila went as Silky Fairy from The Faraway Tree for World Book Day because we've read
Oh
the
yeah,
Faraway Tree books at
yeah.
home. We like read a chapter each night. We take it in turns to read to her. So she loves the stories. And then the new films just come out of that, like, classic story, so I
Nice.
booked it as soon as I saw that it'd come out. Um, Me and Liam were very disappointed in the film because it just, like, they'd really modernized it. Like, why do you have to modernize everything? They made it all about, like, oh, the children just wanna be on technology, and they take them to get away
Mm.
from being on technology all the time, and the kids were, like, moaning about there being no Wi-Fi in the countryside and
Oh,
stuff. But obviously the original stories are really old, so it wasn't
yeah,
about that at all, so they've, like, changed it to modernize it, whereas I
right.
just think there'd have been so much more magic in keeping it,
Yeah,
like,
I like
the
the
real
original.
classic.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But she enjoyed it. So it
Well,
wasn't a bad film. I think it's always the same, isn't it, when you're comparing it to a book or a story that you
yeah.
know already. Um, but yeah, that was really nice, and then just preparing for Easter,
Uh,
and then, yeah,
oh,
getting
gonna
things ready
wait
for Easter.
for work for day work week.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, so the uni's on holiday this week, but I'm
Oh.
still working, but Mila's still at school until she's then off for 2 weeks as of next
Mm,
week. So
mhm.
this month and next month are just crazy because there's a lot of school holidays,
Yeah.
and a lot of juggling, like a million and one things because obviously working and trying to
Mhm.
look after a
Yeah,
child at the same time, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to
yeah.
listening to this.
Yep.
So expect to see me even more flustered over the next few episodes.
Will she even show up? We won't know. We'll find out. We'll see.
I could barely get my sentences out to start this. I started this multiple times this episode, so it's just going to get progressively worse from here. I apologize.
Okay, so our guest is in the lobby, so I think we
Okay.
should let her in. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. We have today with us Lisa Bennett, all the way from Australia. So that's why when you see the video, you can see that Jasmine and I are not in the dark as usual because it's the middle of the day for us.
But it's
Where we
still dull in comparison to the Australian sun that you can see.
it's 8 p.m. I think your way,
Yeah.
Oh,
your
okay.
side, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's bedtime.
okay.
So we have Lisa with us today, and we're going to be talking all things self-love and growth in your 30s. So Lisa, for anybody that doesn't know you, can you introduce yourself?
Of course, I am Lisa Bennett. I am 33 years old. I live in Perth, Western Australia, and I am an emergency responder. I am an open heart surgery survivor, and I am the current Ms Universal Petite Australia 2026.
So you talked about being an, I know this is slightly off topic, but you talked about being a survivor of open heart surgery, which my dad actually had open heart surgery last year. So like, can you tell us a little bit more about that before we get into the topic?
So I was born with a little bit of a heart defect issue. I had surgery at 6 months old, I believe it was, and grew up fairly normal. Come around 2019, 2020, I had my recent checkup, and the issue was that my ascending aorta was expanding and had the potential to burst and rupture. So that was the situation I was in. And I also had a bicuspid valve which needed replacing. And so now I have a mechanical valve in me.
You know, like Lisa and I competed at International Miss together.
Mhm.
So that's where I know her from. And actually, we've been trying to do this episode since last year, if I'm not mistaken, right? And you know, life happens. We need to rearrange, and finally, we're able to talk to her. We talk about self-love a lot, but what is actually self-love, right? So Lisa, can you tell us in your mind, like everything that you have been going through and you have been doing lately, how would you define self-love or what it is for you?
For me, it's definitely an ongoing journey. I don't think that anyone can hold the meaning to self-love because I feel like everyone's different. For me personally, it was to start living my life for me and making my life beautiful and how I want it. And pre-surgery, I wasn't living that life. So actually, my surgery is quite relevant because it was that pinnacle moment where I realized, I had a brush with death suddenly. So looking back on the life that I had previously, it wasn't full of love to myself, and it wasn't an exciting life, and it wasn't a fulfilling life for me. So that moment helped me realize that I needed to do something about it.
Big things that happen in our lives that really put perspective. You're muted, Soraya. Are you muted?
I was going to say repeat it because I had to mute us when she was talking
okay.
because I think that's what we need to do whenever she's going to talk. We mute ourselves,
Okay.
so then it doesn't get choppy. Sorry.
Okay. Great. So yeah, I think I think it's not until big things happen in our lives that it really puts stuff into perspective. And it makes us reevaluate what's important. Like I've definitely gone through those moments in my 30s as well. And I do think being in your 30s is a big time when that happens. So when you came to that kind of realization that you needed to start thinking about like yourself and how you're treating yourself and how you live in your life, what are the first steps that you took to start to change that?
So first and foremost was get my health back in order. I've got for my platform, She Dared to Love Herself, I pretty much have 3 pillars of it. She dared to love herself physically, she dared to love herself emotionally, and she dared to love herself environmentally. Those 3 parts of my life were lacking. And I realized that I had to change each one in different aspects to start living more fulfilling and start loving my life. So, yeah, first and foremost was getting my health back in order, recovering from surgery. My body did something that wasn't supposed to have survived. And that made me see my body differently. That made me see all the little imperfections that I hated not an issue anymore. And also loving myself physically in looking after my body, make sure I nurture it, make sure I give it nutrition, exercise. Again, like I said, it could be different for anyone, but that's where I needed to step up and thank my body for getting me through that hard time. So the physical aspect is all about the fitness and health, even my appearance, my clothes, wearing clothes that make me feel the best every single day. Again, looks different for everyone. But what do I look at myself in the mirror and think, my gosh, I'm amazing? And if it's not, change something about myself and find what that is. So that's the whole physical aspect of the love. Emotionally is going back to things that I love. What fills my soul on fire? What makes this world beautiful for me? And I used to be a theatre geek. I used to do performing arts, all of that kind of thing. And unfortunately, I lost my love for that due to many reasons. But then I went back after surgery and started going to the theatre again. And now I constantly go whenever I can. And it's a realization that, yes, the beauty is still there and I'm falling in love with it again. So just setting your soul on fire, just enjoying life is the emotional side of things. And the mental side, looking after your mental health, is very important to self-love. And finally, environmentally, which rooms am I going into? Who am I associating myself with? Are my friendships adding value to my life, or are they dragging me down? The pageant systems that I'm entering a room that's uplifting me and making me better? Am I walking into a room with confidence and it's adding value and love into my life? So just being very specific on who I associate myself with and just having groups that surrounded by love and who are uplifting me and not dragging me down.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things, right? The way that we kind of introduced this topic at the very beginning, it's like everybody talks about self-love like it's kind of like bubble baths, but it can get uncomfortable because at the end of the day, sometimes we need to set up boundaries, like you said, right? In terms of friendships or the group of people that you are surrounded with, you need to set those boundaries. It's not easy to do, and sometimes you don't want to do it, but it's true that if you are surrounded by people that continuously drag you down, even if it's just like your energy, how are you going to be happy with yourself and who you are? So as I said, like, I know this is hard for people, but do you have any tips on how to set those boundaries or any examples that you can give?
It is very hard. It's very hard to set those boundaries when you've all your life you've been a people pleaser, and that's me included, like trying to put everyone first. And it's easier said than done, and I think repetition is important. So for me, I just keep reminding myself what my end game is and know that it is going to be hard. You might have to let some friends go. Not because you don't like them or anything, just because they don't fit into your life anymore. And that was one of the hardest things that I had to do personally. And it's just something that if you truly want to have a life that you want, that's full of love, you're going to have to make sacrifices, and you just need to remind yourself why you're doing it. Keep in your head constantly that, is this going to help me make my life better? Is this person going to give my life full of love. And if not, you need to have that discussion with yourself. It is easier said than done, but eventually you will come to the decision and be able to take that step forward.
And are there any particular things that you did to, obviously you've talked about all the different parts of your life, where you looked at kind of like the environments you're in, the physical things, the mental things. Is there anything that you would suggest that people do or that you did to kind of identify how, like, what position you're currently in, what parts you feel like you need to improve, or kind of where to start? Because some people might be starting from scratch thinking, actually, I'm not taking care of myself whatsoever. And how do they figure out kind of where to start with that and what they should focus on first?
I would say with me, because I had my heart surgery, it was actually quite easier to start because I had something very specific that I had to deal with at that moment, and the rest just kind of followed. So I would say to people, start with something small. Either, your environment, for example, is your room clean? Is it a space that gives you love, or is it a space that you walk in and you're like, oh my gosh, look at this, it's so messy. So like little things like that, sorting out your house, being very specific on what events you go to. Oh, sorry again. And like just little things like that. It doesn't have to be big things at the start, but then you'll get that momentum going, and then it will soon turn into bigger things, and then you'll be able to really identify at that stage what's easy to let go and what's not, and then you will focus on those easy things first, and then you'll gradually work up to be able to sort out those harder things.
You know what, like what you just said, like I was like, I feel like Jasmine, you and I are already loving ourselves a lot. We are really practicing self-love because we have already decided, okay, we're not going to go to every single event every weekend. We're really going to think about where we're using our energy we started last year, but it's kind of like this year mostly as well. Like, where is our energy going to make sure that we are happy within ourselves? Same thing about our space, right? We talk about like making sure that the space that we are in is welcoming and is happy and is the way that we want it. So great tips. We are already, that's a good thing that we are already on track for that. But one of the things that you said before when you were talking about the 3 pillars, one of them is like being physically okay with yourself. And although I said setting boundaries is hard, I think for me, being a millennial, I think that is the hardest part. Feeling okay with the way that I look at the different stages. You can just things and like make sure that you nurture yourself and do exercises and things like that. But still, I feel like that's still a work in progress for me. Sometimes I feel that I am there and I am achieving it. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I've just run 300 miles back because I need to start working on it again. Do you ever feel like that at all? Do you have any tips for us?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I mean, I have days where I can say like, yes, I absolutely love myself today and everything, and then something might not be right. Looking in through a window, looking at my reflection at a window and being like, oh, that's not how I looked in my mirror this morning. And then it's like, oh, and then you take a selfie or something like that, and it's like, oh gosh, no, go back home. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm fully full of self-love every day, every minute, because I'm definitely not. It's an ongoing journey, and you will have your good days and you will have your bad days. For me, physically, it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and especially women our age, like you said, because we are at that stage where, things are not as quick anymore or anything like that, but it's just that repetition in your head, just saying, I love myself, I love my body, I'm going to nurture my body today. And that's different in every way. For me, I'm really into my fitness now because of my heart surgery, and someone else could not. It looks different for everyone. So just keep that mindset and just repeat to yourself over and over again that, yeah, you might have your bad day, but there's another day ahead.
One thing that I feel like I've definitely learned the older I get is like to get the difficult stuff done in my day, even if I really don't want to do it. Because I know that that's me taking care of myself. Like if there's something on your to-do list, like a phone call you need to make, an appointment you need to book, or something like that. That being said, that doesn't mean I actually do that, even though I know that that's what I should be doing, for my own kind of well-being. What would you say, like, do you have any tips, just those days or those times in your life where you just, like, I definitely go through phases, or especially certain times of the month where I'm like, oh, I just gonna want to lay here like a potato and I don't want to do anything at all. Do you have any advice for how you push through that and still do the things that you know you should do for yourself?
For me, that's very difficult to answer because I am a person who would spend a day in bed. I would have things to do, and I love, it's, I would say, if you want to have that lazy day, have that lazy day. But also remember, be like, okay, I'm going to have today off. I'm going to just put everything on hold, read a book. And then tomorrow, when I'm more well rested, I am going to jump into things that I need to do. Because rest is important as well. Rest is very important for self-love. And that's something that I have learnt over the last couple of years as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm the same. I mean, I used to like beat myself up for being lazy and just, like, well, I don't really want to do this. Then going through the endometriosis really taught me a little bit like, like sometimes, I cannot really force my body to do things. Rest is important. But then also, when you are someone that plans things or like are very self-disciplined and, like you just feel like being lazy is kind of like not achieving anything and being behind. But then now thinking as well, like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay if I am lazy today. No one is gonna no one is policing what I'm doing, right? No one is gonna come and say like, you didn't do the dishes today. Fine, pay me £200 or something like that. No one is gonna come and just tell me all of those things. There is no law out there for like how often do you need to, get out of the sofa or anything like that. So I think I've learned that this year that it's okay. Obviously not let it get out of hand because otherwise we will be in a really bad situation. But something that I wanted to ask you is, I think everybody struggles with self-love. I think the way that we grew up is something that, like you see it in magazines everywhere. And then now you have social media on top of that you see everybody's life and what are they doing and how everything is supposed to look. How can we work on not getting sidetracked for what we see in social media so we can still love ourselves and love the way that we are without that comparison?
Yeah, with social media, it is extremely difficult because you see everyone going out and doing things and sharing their best photos with their groups of girlfriends. And so I don't have many girlfriends. I don't have really any girl groups, but I know of some girl groups and I see them going out taking photos every day. And I used to have a longing to be included. That was something that I really struggled with before I started going on this journey. And it's it's aligning yourself to what they're doing, I would say, would be my best advice. If you're trying to align in how you vision your life to be, and that post or that friendship group or anything like that doesn't align with it, and tell yourself it's okay not to be a part of that. And that's something that I am still learning and I'm still struggling with, and I'm so much better than what I was before the years past. But yeah, still sometimes I would see a couple of girls that I know out for a drink and I'd be like, where was my invite? But at the end of the day, it's like, I've got my other stuff to do, and that's okay if they don't want me there. I'm learning to be comfortable in my own skin and comfortable in my own company, and it's just constantly telling yourself what's aligning, what's not. Is me going out going to be better with those girls, or am I going to save for a rainy day and call one of them and hang out one-on-one? I'm not really a big group kind of girl. I love my deep discussions and my close, loyal, loving friends, and there's few of them. But that's how I socialize. I'm not a big good party girl, so when I see that things, I'm learning to say, good for them. They're having a wonderful time. They look really happy. But here I am in my own element and loving my own element. So it's just all a mind game and just all a mindset that you need to just repeat and repeat.
I think one of the biggest things that we've talked about it quite a lot on this podcast as well is I think seeing social media and other people's lives is that chance of like comparing yourself to others. So, you're saying you're seeing other people that are out in those groups or living slightly differently. The thing is, if we can't live like everybody we see on social media, because that's literally impossible, because we all have different priorities, we're all at different stages in our lives, we've all got different commitments, responsibilities. So like you can't do everything as much as you might want to do everything. Were you surprised when you started this journey? Is there anything that you were surprised to learn about yourself, or anything that changed once you went on this journey that you were like, oh, I used to actually do this all of the time just because I thought I should. And now that I'm reevaluating like self-care and what's right for me, I've decided that that's not something that I even want to do anymore.
I think a massive part of this whole journey is coming to the realization that my path may be different to the social norm. Because, like, me being 33, we're all in our 30s, I thought I would have different stages of my life by the time I was 30, and I don't. And growing up in my 20s, it was something that really bothered me. Really, I felt behind. Everyone was getting their degrees, everyone was getting engaged, married, have kids, all of that things. And I felt I was being left behind. And I would try and say, hey, do you want to go out? Oh, sorry, I've got to take my kid to the school play or something like that, which is great. But when I had interactions like that, I felt bad about my life and I felt so alone. But for the last couple of years, especially after surgery and going on this journey, I'm realizing that it's okay not to be at that stage in my life. It might not ever happen, I don't know. But I'm taking my life one day at a time and see where it goes. Maybe my life is supposed to go on a different path, or that life is just around the corner. And if it happens tomorrow, if it happens in a couple of years by now, it's okay. So I'm just learning to take the day by day, enjoy each day, and we'll see what happens. So that is a major thing that has really impacted this journey.
And that is really the best place to be, right? Like that's something that we've mentioned many times. That's basically what my TEDx was about. All about, the society is setting certain timelines for everybody, and it's impossible that every single person meets them at that specific time. So it's great that you have done that mentality switch, because it's just gonna make you enjoy your 30s much more than if you are constantly worrying about like, I should be here, I should have this, I should be doing this. And one of the things that you've said before, regarding a group of friends, I don't have a big group of friends where I am, like all my friends, like Jasmine, they're all like scattered around the UK. So it's really hard for us to get together, right? But something that I think should be important as well in our self-love journey is to be okay with being on our own, and maybe do things on our own that we would do with a group, right? I still have in my to-do list like going out for a meal by myself, as like I don't think I've done that before. Well, maybe in a work trip or something, but you know what I mean, like not intentionally just getting ready and just going out for a meal on my own, or like going to the cinema on your own. You just do things on your own. But I feel like still is scary for people when you are used to be surrounded by friends, family, and other people, and then you are on your own and you have to do things on your own. So since you just told us that you really thrive more in being in your own area, not being with a big group of people, what would you say to people that are scared of doing things on their own?
It is very daunting. Like I said, I've always had that independence from people who were all around me. So I'm okay with doing things on my own. It would be nice to have maybe one or two friends that I can go to these things, but at the end of the day, it's okay. I would say maybe just start small. Maybe go to a little cafe, have a little coffee, or have a little light meal with a coffee. Like, just start small. Like, just the other night, I went and saw La Traviata, the opera, by myself. And I sat next to this lovely couple from Switzerland, of all places. They were here in Perth, Australia on a holiday. And we just talked. They were lovely. They were fairly elder in their age, but they were the two loveliest people. And I had conversations with them. So it is daunting to go out on your own, and you kind of want to keep to the back of the corner and try to be invisible. But once you get that courage to just take that little step towards someone and just say hi or anything like that, it then starts to become a bit more easier to meet other people, because that's what I struggled with. Before pageants or anything, I'd struggled meeting people. I do not like small talk. It was very difficult for me to meet new people. But now that I've sort of gotten that momentum over the years, I'd just say the people next to me, hi, how are you? Where are you from? And just start a little small, and then who knows who you can meet. You might meet your next best friend or your next partner or anything like that. So just taking that first step and going to that first event is the hardest.
I think something that's really helped me with that as well is like with age, I just think, although I still care, I do still care if people like me, don't get me wrong. However, like, especially if I'm meeting new people or if I'm in an environment where I'm never going to meet anybody, like see these people again, or like if I talk to somebody and they think I'm just the weirdest person ever and just like go home and be like, well, I met this weird woman at that event, that's never going to impact my life. Like, I feel I feel so much better now with like, if you take that leap and you start talking to somebody, or even if they don't like you, like it's really never gonna affect you again in that scenario. So I think it's good to bear in mind that one, everyone feels the same, and secondly, like if you're not someone's cup of tea or they think you're odd for talking to them, it's never like it's not actually gonna have no impact on your life whatsoever, even if that does happen. So just food for thought for people. So if you could get people to do one thing today, so if somebody's listening to this podcast and they think, right, okay, starting tomorrow, I'm gonna refocus on doing these acts of self-care and doing things themselves, but there's just one small thing that they could do, or the one thing that you've done that's changed your outlook or your way of looking after yourself completely? Is there one thing that you'd advise them to do?
When I first started, I actually created a list. I did a little listing. I heard it from another podcast somewhere. I don't remember, somewhere on YouTube. And what that person said was, get a piece of paper and split it in half and put love and not love on the columns, and list all the things in your life that you will never get rid of. That would be your best friend who you love, your family, or things that you already know that you can't live without, or that you already love. And then the second column will be not things you hate or not things you dislike, but things that are sort of on the borderline. Like, yes, I go to this group every Thursday, but something is not, it doesn't set me on fire in joy and love. So you put that in the second column, and then you compare the two columns. And then you look at it and say, if this person in the self-love column would disappear tomorrow, would that hurt me deeply? And it's not just people, it can be hobbies, your job, anything. And then if it's something that you definitely love and you know in your heart that you can't live without, keep it in your life. And anything else, look at it very closely and ask questions as, does this bring value into my life? Does this bring fire to my soul? Does it make me see the world beautifully and love it so much? If not, then can I live without it? Is it going to give my life value? And then you have to sort of make that decision as to, maybe it's something I need to let go. But you just don't cut off cold turkey. You let it sit in the back of your mind and you think about it and you ask yourself the hard questions. If it's an easy thing to let go, be like, I don't need this in my life anymore. Or I don't need this person in my life anymore. Doesn't mean you hate the person, doesn't mean you think they're a bad person or anything. You know, everyone's not suited for everyone. But you need to live your life for you. We're only here this one time. And you can't live your life being down. You got to enjoy it and you got to love it. So you got to pick those things and just clear the rest. Easier said than done, but it happens over time.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I've learned in the last couple of episodes that we've done is that we really need to do, we need to Marie Kondo our life, basically. We just need to look at everything, like our life in general. Does this bring me joy? Yes, we want it. We keep it. Is this serving me? No. Okay, goodbye. With our clothes, the same thing, right? Like one of the things that you said, we need to wear clothes that make us feel good in ourselves. So same thing, we need to go through our wardrobe and Marie Kondo everything and just like make sure that we only have what we need and that what actually make us happy. So
yeah.
I'm gonna I might do this Easter break. I might Marie Kondo on my life. Just go through everything. Don't worry, Jasmine, you'll still be here because you bring me so much joy. So.
You made it hear any more episodes, and that speaks volumes.
No, yeah. But you know what? Like one the things that you said about like wearing clothes that make you happy and make you feel good within yourself, it's important and it's true. Sometimes, when dress as a homeless person, you know, I'm not feeling my best. And I think like you can just really feel in the attitude as well, right? And I've recently seen those videos on TikTok about just wear the outfit, even if you don't have anywhere to wear the outfits to.
Mm.
But sometimes I'm wondering, like, where am I gonna wear my pageant gowns? You know, like, just in my house, or am I gonna do like Harriet and go to the supermarket in my gowns?
I mean, if you want,
I don't know, but yeah, I think I'm gonna. Yeah, I mean, why not? You know, but you know, like now, I'm just looking at you, like yeah, like that jacket, that suit is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm just thinking like, maybe I should have put something nicer as well to make to feel better. I don't know. I'm gonna start thinking about that.
Yes, when
Wearing better
I
clothes that make me happy and make me feel good.
yeah, when I had a bad day, I would say a couple of weeks ago, I had one of those days where I did not want to do anything. I was actually coming off from a sinus infection, so I was pretty sick for the week, 2 weeks prior to that. And I had been in my PJs for 2 weeks. I've been in bed for 2 weeks. It was not a good time. Anyway, that day I wanted to get out of bed and do something, and I actually just did my hair and makeup, like just not simple, not full on glam, but just pampered myself a bit and put on my nice track suit and just went to the shops. And it was a really wonderful experience, even though it was so simple, because I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, yeah, after a sinus infection, you're looking pretty good there, Lisa. And it just boosted my mood considerably. And in previous times when I've actually been a bit dressy, I was going somewhere, but I had to duck to the shops. I had people stopping me and saying how wonderful I looked. And not that I was dressing for anyone's validation, but it made me put a spring in my step and it made me elevate my happiness. So the power of clothes and the power of makeup, not that anyone has to wear makeup if they don't want to, but just if you look good, you feel good. And, you know, I've experienced that many times.
I agree. I think a lot of the time I like, especially if I'm stuck in a rut as well, I find that really switching up my environment helps. So, like if sometimes there'll be, if I'm not teaching, I might be working from home for a whole week. So maybe I'd only go out to do the school run, which I don't necessarily get dressed up or do anything to do the school run. But then after like 2 days of doing that, sometimes I think, oh, you know what, I feel really like stuck in a rut, being in the house and not going out and doing anything, and I'll just literally do my hair and makeup, get dressed, and then I might, like you say, just nip to a shop or something before I go to the school run in the afternoon. And it does make such a big difference. Sometimes I think, like, if you're ever feeling stuck or down, or like you're just going through the motions, I think sometimes like cutting your normal routine and just doing something slightly out of the ordinary, whether that's maybe that is a day at home. If you're somebody who gets ready and goes out every day, sometimes maybe giving yourself that break and being at home might be the change, but something that switches it up, I
Yeah.
think sometimes can be what you need to kind of kick you into gear to do something different as well.
And it's that
Yep,
that
absolutely.
thought inside that's like, oh, something needs to change. That's your guts. One thing I would say to people is trust your gut. Listen to your gut. When I was previous years, I would be anxious about something and my gut will be telling me differently. And 9 times out of 10, what was in my gut happened. And it does take practice to learn, but deep down, if something you feel is not right or anything like that, trust your gut, because 9 times out of 10, it is probably the right way and the correct course for you. That's something I would say to people.
Absolutely. So, if anybody wants to find you, wants to see everything that you're doing in terms of like your self-love and your platform, where can they find you?
So I'm mostly active on Instagram. I do have Facebook, but I do spend most of my time on Instagram. I've got my own Instagram handle at Miss Lisa Bennett, but my whole self-love journey is on the She Dared to Love Herself page. And I also incorporate the Universal Petite page as well. So there's 3 there that people can choose from, whatever tickles their fancy. But I am definitely more active on my She Dared to Love Herself because I am just working and building that, and hopefully to create a community that shares values as much as mine. So that's where I will be. That's where you can reach me.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for coming on the podcast. And thank you for everyone that keeps listening to the Females Thriving Over 30 podcast every week. We see you in the next episode, and we hope you have a lovely week. Bye-bye.